we are going to speak about such topic as is translation safe road for beginner in Ukraine and in general. So when the beginner comes to translation, he or she feels something like this. They feel absolutely lonely. They stand in the middle of the roads. They can't see any traffic signs, or they do not know any direction where to go, and well, they don't even know traffic rules. So in this way, we should help them somehow to march again along this road and not to leave it. So what is one of the most important things which distracts the translators and makes them to leave this road? First of all is lack of experience, of course. So here you can see just some of the vacations which I found on Prose. And what we see here is everywhere experienced professional translator with a minimum of 3 years experience, a seasoned US English proofreader who works in Trados, who has an experience of working in MEMQ or in Trados and knows some of medicine and other fields. So finally, if they see this and they do not know any way where to get this experience from, there are only two ways for them. First of all, they can try practical training courses from some LSPs or skilled translators. But it has some of drawbacks too, because mostly they are quite costly, especially for the young translators who do not earn and they do not have a profit for paying this. And so this distracts them as well. Another thing, if they finally find money for this, is that sometimes they are too short. Usually it's, well, according to my study and investigation, what I found is they usually maybe one month or at least 2 months is long. And of course, we understand that during this time, they cannot get all the necessary skills for becoming a real professional. And so that's, again, they pay money, they get something, but that's not enough for getting a constant workflow. And another thing is sometimes these programs are even irrelevant and unhelpful, because some of the even skilled translators, they are providing not the some practical tips for young translators, but they still include some of the university program, some kind of teaching, some kind of theoretical knowledge which they already know from the university, but still they cannot use it somewhere on practice. But what they mostly need is practical skills. Again, if they do not apply for such training courses, some of them who are really daring to become a translator and who are oriented on this goal, they are trying to apply to all relating vacancies with a probation period. So again, in 99% of cases, they get a refusal, or at least the employers ignore their CVs and do not send them back any reply even. Even after this, if they get some kind of feedback, they are employed, they are poorly paid, first of all. But that's more or less okay for any beginner in any industry, because, well, if you have no experience and you still need to study, your rate is rather low. And well, after this, which is more irritating for them, is that they get hard knocks from the proofreaders. Again, after almost every job, they get their feedback file totally in red, crossed with everything is changed, and then they see also the general feedback like something, I've never seen such a bad translation. Where did you get this person from? Who is he in general? And that's why it makes them really to feel frustrated. And after it, even if they possess great talent, even if they used to be goal-oriented on working as a translator and interpreter, they start leaving the industry. And then we have a brain drain from our industry in general, because they usually switch to some less demanding industries, but having proposing more money is something like IT, for example, or maybe marketing. And after this, they start leaving, including they are starting leaving Ukraine as a country and go to other countries to work on some law-specified jobs, you know, like illegal immigrants, because they know language. They were studying here in Ukraine, but after this they couldn't find a nice job here, and they will go to other countries. So, but such goal as finding a good and talented newbie and trying to develop his or her skills is really advantageous task. It can bring you a lot of benefits in the future. So what we know is what usually distracts employers from employing a young person. So they are not so independent, and they do not possess enough expertise in some field, but instead they possess zest and ambitions which makes them move forward more and more. And on other hand, we have someone who is experienced, who can do any job perfectly, but they are already getting lazy of this, because they think that they already achieved everything. They are in a comfort zone, and that's why they do not want to develop more. In this case, I think that if we compare these two girls, I would think that this one is more beneficial for employer, in my opinion. So another thing is how to work with a newbie as to make him a professional. So first of all, after each job, we should provide feedback for them, and this feedback should also include not just the statement of quality or just general comment, but it would be really nice if it contained both positive signs and negative signs as well. Well, here maybe you just don't see it very well, but here the letter includes such things that your job was not bad, thank you for that, but you also had such mistakes as you used wrong terminology, you had some typos, you had some stylistic mistakes, and so on. But we usually recommend to finish this job with this letter with some positive comment. But in general, you coped with the text. You had a nice, you had a nice stylistic in general, and you understood what the job was about. And you can actually, if you continue working in the same field, you would get all the necessary skills soon. So after it, we also should always remember that young talents are always up to date. So of course we need to possess experienced translators because they know a lot about the industry, about the classical industry, for example about oil and gas, or about energetics, or about legal industry. But if we are talking about some like young cultures, translation of some video games, even some blogs, some modern youth cultures, I think we should think mostly about young translators, because they know much more about it. They are deeply inside it, and even if they do not believe, even if they do not have enough language skills for this, they can compensate it really greatly with their knowledge from inside of this topic. And it is, of course, of a great benefit. What's next is finally we have good news for the employers. Young talents can boost up your profits really greatly because as we already told, their payment rates are rather lower, but their quality improvement can be rather quick, and it doesn't demand much for them to develop. They have a soaring potential, and you just need to deposit a little bit of your resources, mostly in material, just some time and passion, patience, and in this way the profits and revenues will grow up. Then what's another thing is HR and marketing benefits. It's like a long-term benefits. Well, your yesterday's trainee in future can become one of the following. They can be either loyal and experienced professional. So why an experienced professional? Because it will be an especially experienced professional for your company, because you would make them yourselves. You would train them according to your working standards, according to your techniques, and according to your methods of work. And in this way, they will even have advantage if compared to other people taken from outside. Because still, if you are taking even a seasoned translator from outside, you would still need to educate them according to your working standards. But those who you took young and developed, they already know this. And from here we have another thing, which the loyalty of your young employers. They can grow to a really well-skilled professionals, and after this, some other companies would try to rehire them in their company. But in this way, they would be still loyal to you, because they would be really grateful to you that you gave them the ticket for this professional life. And even if some of the other employers would come with a more beneficial job order for them, they would say, you know, I already working with my current employer and I'm pretty satisfied with him or her, and I think I wouldn't change my job for now, because I know what I should do here, and I don't want to leave from here. Well, but it happens sometimes that still even if after short training the young specialists can leave to other industries, because it's normal, it's typical for young people to be doubt if they are going the right way, and if they change the profession, it's actually not a big problem for you as an employer either, because they can become your repeat customer. For example, if they change industry to IT, and they also would need on their new work, also would need a translation, I think it's a clear choice for them where to go for translation, because they already know how the processes, the quality processes are managed into your company, and they know your inner approach, what type of product you provide to them, and in this way, I think they will know. They will never doubt about where to go for translation. Again, they can also become your reliable partner. Why? Because again, it can be. They can even organize their own business, and in this way, you could actually, knowing his or her personal skills, apply to them as for IT services. You as a company would need, for example, your website development. So instead of looking for someone from outside, you already know this person. You know that he or she were more or less skillful, at least in translation. But mostly what you know is that they are personal skills, if they are reliable, how good they are, and so on. So again, they can become your reliable partner as well. So now we closely get to the question how to train a professional. So first of all, what we need to think about is mentoring and providing a detailed feedback. So feedback, especially, well, it must be given after each job for anyone, but especially for young translators, it should be after each job mandatory, because it's very important for them to have their feedback, to know that they are on the right way, like we said in the beginning. So, and of course, what is most important is that it not should contain only when the job is bad. So it shouldn't say that the job is bad and we stop working and that's it. So it should contain detailed analysis, statement of weak and strong points, and very important, a reviewed file. Because in the reviewed file, they would see what things have been changed, and it is also very good to include comments, if possible. Of course, not in every. If it is, for example, 100,000 words work, of course, you cannot include for every word the comment, but most typical mistakes which were made should be highlighted, and it should have a comment why this mistake was made and why it is considered a mistake. Because for young translators, they translate as they believe is true, and if you not explain the mistake properly, they still don't understand it and will make it again in the next job. And well, that's why it should contain the reviewed file. Again, recommendations how to avoid the same mistakes in the future. Again, what I already told, that such mistakes can repeat from one work into another, and I saw such translators who repeat because they do not know even that this is a mistake. And you should actually say them, this is a mistake, it should be done another way, and this is how we usually do it. So again, it should also contain recommendations how to use even quality assurance tool or glossary or dictionary, because sometimes they don't know even this, because it depends, of course, on background knowledge of a person, but sometimes they do not know this. If you provide a glossary for them, and it can contain some of words which are specific, and there can be some words which are not specific, and then they take the glossary and translate the same word everywhere, and they do not look into the context. You again to the like a comment to the glossary, you should include, for example, this word is translated like this in this way, but if it is not related to this, please translate it according to the context. It's a typical mistake. Actually, not only for the newcomers. And another very important thing is encouraging to ask questions and giving own feedback, because well, young translators, they are very shy and timid. They will never ask you something because they would be afraid that you would be angry with them, that they're taking your time and so on. This is typical for young translators. They believe like this. They think the young translators who are here, they would agree. And you should encourage them that please, if you don't understand something, please ask me, please write, and I would provide you a proper answer as soon as I can. And of course, we should not make them wait really long, because again, they would think, oh, maybe I asked a stupid question and they would never answer me, and I'm so really bad about this. So again, assistance in searching terminology and using CAT tools and software. Again, in some of the schools, CAT tools are not even included in the education program, well, at least in Ukraine. And when it comes to CAT tools, even Trados, they do not know how to work with it. They install it and they start and they try doing it, but they do not. Sometimes they do not even know how to connect the translation memory, how to connect the glossary there, and other things. And in this way, we should also help them again. And searching proper terminology again provides some kind of tips where to find the necessary terminology, how to differentiate between terminology, for example, in medicine and in technical field. It is also very important because sometimes they really confuse the terms, and well, we'll speak about it a little bit later. And continuous translation load. It's one of the most important things, because usually when LSPs start working with a newcomer, they give them one page, then again they provide the feedback with and they say that the quality was bad. Then they provide another page, and the quality might be still not right. And after it, they stop. And of course, a newcomer doesn't know what to do next. 2 pages were not enough for practicing anything. And we shouldn't stop giving them the load, because practice makes perfect. This is exactly the thing which makes all of us professional, because the theoretical knowledge is not enough. And of course, we should provide more and more loads to them, and actually supporting them with the feedback, the quality would improve. And well, what I already told is Glossary. Glossary is a really important tool for any translator, but for newcomer, it's especially important because when they see a text with a number of different terms, they feel like, you know, like a lonely boat in the middle of the stormy sea. They do not know the proper direction where to go, and they do not know which way will sink them down and which way will actually rise them up and will protect them. And we should provide them some kind of compass. This compass is Glossary. If you provide something like even like what you see in the table, we all know that actually there are some words which have general meaning, but for example, if we take technical field, the same words have absolutely different meaning. For example, Christmas tree. Oh, I think you don't really see it. So first is anchor, Christmas tree, elbow, knob, and washer. So the most vivid is Christmas tree. We all know this from childhood. I think even 4 years children know what is this. But when it comes to oil and gas, it means absolutely different thing, which it actually looks like, yeah, but actually it's different. In English, it's the same, but in Russian or Ukrainian, it's rather different. Again, sometimes there can be some words which also have different meanings. For example, like tension roller. Usually, well, especially what can girls know is some kind of device for making your hair curly. But if it comes to industry and to some machines, it is mostly about part of a machine which makes the tension on the machine higher. And again, some kind of really specific thing like walking beam. So someone without technical knowledge, technical background might think that this is some kind of wood with the legs which can walk. No, it's rather different thing. It's a type of conveyor. And in this way, the newcomer will at least know what direction to go. And so again, after all this is positive attitude. So even if the works were dreadful, you should. I think it's possible to find positive points everywhere, and you should also say, yeah, of course your work was not good for this time, but at least you had this and this right. And but with this, we should also criticize, and we should also strictly trace the mistakes. How this person makes mistakes this time, and if this person eliminates the mistakes in future time, because it is important if they it is important to control if they have progress, if they pay attention to what you are correcting. Because again, in my practice, I had such people who you send them feedbacks stating the positive and negative points. They write back, thank you very much, I really appreciate it, I'll definitely keep it in mind, and then nothing changes. That happens, but in this way we have to trace the mistakes, especially maybe it can be some kind of a profile for each beginner, like saying, oh, this beginner number 1 is making mistakes in grammar, especially, for example, present simple. Okay, and you see the next job makes if this person makes the same mistake or not. If it went better, then that's good. Again, cheering up. motivation is important. And the assessment should be strict but fair. And of course, keeping in touch. Again, not forgetting about this translator and saying and only remembering him or her when it comes really urgent need, when there is nobody else to give the job. No, it will not. They would not understand that you are treating them seriously. And of course, if you do not believe them to be professionals, they would also not believe themselves to be professionals too. And what we should also know, we were speaking a lot about what the employer should do. But the translator, the newbie, should also do all possible things as not to be a black sheep of translator's family. So they should prove to be diligent. So they need to show dedication to business, that they really want to be translators, and they are really this industry is really important for them, and they want to prove their potential and that they can join our family too. What I also believe really important is their personal reliability, because it always happened to me too that, well, newcomers, they are yesterday's students. And for students, it's quite typical to say, oh, today I'm ill, and I cannot give you this job back. Or, well, you know, like what they usually say to teachers. They used to say to teachers in their school. But now they must understand that they are actually working, they have a real job. And it is important for them to be reliable. And, well, if they are reliable and they show that they do everything possible to meet the deadline and to do job as best as good as they can, then it's good. But if I see some kind of poor excuses like I'm sorry, I forgot about the task, I'm sorry, I was ill yesterday and that's why I cannot finish it today, and something like this, you know, like what you can hear in school, it's not what we need. And well, what is also important, being quick to learn. Yeah, well, but in my opinion, actually reliability is more important. If we compare these two skills, reliability is more important than being quick to learn, because even if the person can learn really quickly and can pick up all the terminology and style guides and so on, but still I have a problem with this person in deadlines, or I cannot rely if he or she can do this job in time, I would not believe that I would work with them. I would better hire someone who is reliable, who is maybe not really much, not really quick in studying, but still I think I know I would be sure that I would have great results with them. And well, to finish, I would like to say that evolution also means having a chance, not just using it. I saw a lot of different articles about prominent translators, interpreters, and so on, and other specialists in translation. But we also need to remember that all of them were a complete newbie some time ago, and that all of them actually needed this chance, that someone would that someone would give this chance to them to practice. And actually, who knows if our ancient Stone Age ancestors wouldn't give a chance to yours, maybe we would still be engraving in caves than using computers and social networks. Thank you very much. I would really appreciate your feedback.
Thank you, Igor.
Sorry.
Do you hear me? Yeah. We had a wonderful presentation yesterday from Olena Hlavinska and Nastya Struk about future of our industry, also from the perspective of beginners. And your presentation today is very optimistic. Thank you for that. Do we have questions in our audience? Yes.
Igor, thank you for the presentation. We have two questions from our online attendee. It's Nigel Whitley, who had a presentation yesterday.
Okay, great.
So Nigel wonders, what do you think are the shortcomings of the initial translator training given by universities?
Shortcomings?
Shortcomings.
Shortcomings.
Is this our first question? And the second one is, do you think university translator courses should be teaching to use of CAT tools and translation memories?
Well, as for the second question, definitely yes. Of course, because it is a must for a modern translator. I've never, well, in 90% of cases, the translation agencies demand some work in CAT tools, and a lot of foreign LSPs have their own CAT tools or CAT tools platforms. And as for the first question, well, it depends on the university, of course. Well, in some of the university, and well, I wouldn't say it depends on the university more. It would depend on a teacher, because this is exactly the teacher who makes the professional. They either can actually stick to what they have in their education program and never give something above to this. But if they are practicing this, they are practical translators, they should also always give them some practical tasks or practical tips for these young students, young people in translation. Because this is, I believe, this is of much more great help than some of the theoretical knowledge. I hope I answered.
Thank you, Igor. Sabina.
Thank you, Igor, for your presentation.
I
think what you said about giving feedback, it's important for any of also interns, employees joining your company. Like in many situations, it's very, very valuable. But I have a question for you. Do you think that when you are actually involving a young translator, and of course, you know, as a project coordinator, you know that that person is potentially working for the first time, would you recommend having a different process? Then just to explain, normally the process I would understand in any translation process starts with translation, editing, and proofreading. But when you have someone young in the team, would you recommend, for example, opening the discussion between the translator and editor and proofreader, creating like a working group? Because very often people work in completely anonymously, right? They don't even know who is doing the work after them.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Very good question. Yes, what I think. Well, how I work. I always. Well, I have 10 years of experience, like it was said before. And when I hire a translator, I start providing feedback from the test. Even if they give me the test and they fulfill it, even if it is, again, if it is bad, I even call them and try speaking to them, well, saying, okay, thank you for your test, but this were right and this were not right. And well, we can start working with you, but we need to, I would need you to focus on such things. Especially, again, a lot of young translators start with machine translation, first of all. And when I send the task to them, I say, please, no Google Translate, first of all, because I would need to evaluate your personal skills, not Google Translate skills. And this is how I usually start my work with a new translator. Again, of course, during the work, we should provide feedback and keep in touch with them always, because it is really important. Because I, as a newbie, I also I demanded the some kind of feedback, but nobody provided it to me. And it was a great problem for me, because I don't know if I do it right or not. Do you like it or not? And sometimes I do not write it. And it is I think it is a great problem of translation agencies. And this is a problem which make young translators to leave, because they do not know how to go along this road.
Just two more comments here. It's not a question, it's rather a comment. I used to be involved with Translation Commons. It's a great charity powered by translators. And what they offer, it's actually a mentoring program. So they're more like senior editors that offer help to young translators who want to learn, and they want to have a mentor or someone who would proofread whatever they're doing. And it's completely free of charge. And it's open to any member, so you can just sign up for free, and you can find someone who could review what you are doing and could help you. So I would really recommend for anyone to sign up there. And regarding the process, what you mentioned, really giving feedback. So this is just my experience. I'm sorry for like, jeopardizing the talk, but this is my experience. I used to, for many years, I was responsible for test translations. So I had to make sure that whatever I deliver to the client is of the highest quality. And of course, I involved lots of people and many proofreaders and editors, etc. But what I could see that every other person coming after is always making changes, and sometimes it's not for the better, right? So what I did, I actually involved like a working group. So all of those people, like let's say 4 people working on the little piece, would talk together, and they would brainstorm, and at the end we will have the best outcome ever. And lots of those people said, like, you know what, I always work in isolation by myself. I never speak with anyone, and here was an opportunity to actually speak with another professional. So maybe this is a good way to involve the young people who can learn, even quicker.
Yeah. I don't think it's okay when we should work in a group, especially with young translators, because if editor is isolated from translator, how in the world they can provide a good job, a good top quality job? Because translator thinks on his or her mind, and editor thinks something different. Again, editor usually is more experienced. The editor doesn't have a chance, even if he or she wants to share this experience with a translator. This is actually another problem of our industry because of this isolation. Because I actually understood most of what I presented when I started working as a full-time editor and translator in a translation agency. I understood the process. But before, I was working for this agency, again, remote, and I didn't understand anything, and that's why, it's of great importance making a team. I think in perfect world, perfect translation world, it would be like one editor and maybe a group of and a group of young translators. And this editor should not be like a typical editor who is just editing and doing nothing else. It should be a mentor, first of all. Someone who used to be a teacher before, but changed and switched like me to translation. So this person should have teaching skills, first of all, and of course should be professional in translation as to share his or her experience with newbies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question. As Roman Bulkevich a few days ago said, outcome of one person and outcome of 2 persons is 2 different outcomes. Well,
Definitely.
some of these outcomes.
Definitely.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. My question is about the feedback to the test translation that you mentioned. I wanted to ask you, how many tests do you check and how profound the feedback is? Since from what I heard is that you just specify for every translation which is good and which is bad.
Yeah.
But from this point, actually, we at Translatel started like this as well. And moreover, we are doing much in all educational initiatives, you may know, and so on and so forth, but we stopped doing this. I mean, with giving a profound feedback. Since actually many use Google Translate and so on and so forth, why should we, and if this is the attitude of the applicant, using Google Translate and actually adding nothing more from yourself, why should we, you know, spare time and give the extended feedback that it is not yours, it's Google's, and so on and so forth? So how extended the feedback is, and don't you think that if it is really extended, that you will be used like the charity organizations, young translators will apply every month, and you will just simply be doing not business but charity. Thank you.
I'm a kind person, you know. So yeah, it's a great problem for me. Well, I face this problem with the Google Translate. A lot of them. I even connected experienced translators who I wanted to work with, and they sent me machine or Google translation too. And well, it's a problem. But as you told yesterday, actually we cannot fight against machine translation. And I know in many universities, at least in Ukraine, young translators are even studied to use machine translation. For example, in Kharkiv, where I started to do this job, a lot of young students came to me, and I started checking their translation, and I see 99% of Google coincidence. And I asked him why it's Google. Because our teacher in university told us so, that we can start with a Google Translate and proofread it and say if it is okay, then okay, that's a good translation. And again, when I started working with these people and saying, well, yeah, Google Translate maybe, or machine translation, yeah, it is a trend now, and well, you know about this, but you should do something yourself, and at least in test translation, as I would never be able to understand how good you are in translation, because I can translate my test in Google Translate myself. Why I would need this? And yeah, I don't even know if you know English or not, because it's Google who knows. So please, if you want to work, redo your test and send me your translation, as I could assess your quality. If usually the person, in 50% of the cases, they disappear. But other 50, maybe 45%, send something and we start working.
Other questions? No. Thank you, Igor.
Thank you too.